Hey everyone, how's it going? Elliot here again. In today's video, we are going to be looking at the Yashica Y35. But before we do that, I just want to really quickly talk to you about my new hats. So about a year ago, I started wearing this hat in a video, and it was just a black cap that I got from a shop in Jersey. And I went away on holiday, and some random little shop was like doing embroidery on it. So I got that and started wearing it in my videos, and people asked me for hats. So here are the hats. Basically, they're embroidered, so it's like a really high quality print onto the fabric, stitched on, so it looks like something that you'd see officially in a shop. It comes in two different colors. It comes in white and dark gray to kind of go along with the whole classic theme. These hats are called the Classic. I don't know how long they're going to be on sale for, so go ahead and grab one now if you can. Worldwide shipping. Go and check the link out in the description and support the channel. Okay, so I'm not going to go into massive details about the controversies of this camera, but essentially back at the end of 2017, Yashica, or so we thought it was Yashica, put up a Kickstarter to crowdfund the Digifilm Yashica Y35, and everyone was like, oh my goodness, this sounds incredible. So for those of you who don't know, old film cameras take what's called film. I'm sure most of you know this by now, and essentially the film has a chemical on it that's reactive to light, and when you wind the shutter and fire, basically the camera shutter opens up, lets the light onto the film, and then using more chemicals, it then processes the film. So Yashica decided what they do is re-release their film camera range using Digifilm, which meant that you could use an SD card, and it came with multiple different films that mimicked different films that you could buy back in the day. So for example, black and white films and different ISO and different color palettes and all that kind of stuff. The world's first Digifilm trademark system. We hope this innovation of Yashica can inspire your creativity and even your life. Write your own silence of story, Yashica. So that's absolutely fantastic. Image controlled by Digifilm, 14 megapixels output, which I find incredibly hard to believe. Built-in viewfinder, brilliant. Aperture of 2.0 with 5-element lens, focal length of 35mm, shutter speed fully automatic, focus fully automatic, ISO fully automatic, 5 stops of EV control and 1 second exposure. And it comes in this kind of ripped up, torn looking box to look old, I guess. There's a load of controversies about how long this thing took to actually get to people's hands. And when they finally got it, there was loads of problems with the film, so some of the labels were stuck on wrong. So some people were getting like color photos out of their black and white film, but actually it was just the label stuck on the wrong way. People aren't very happy with the quality and how long it took for them to get theirs. Some people haven't even still got theirs yet. It's a whole disaster, really. Piece of paper here talking about setting the time and date, which is brilliant. Oh yeah, and other people, instead of getting a micro USB cable to go into the micro USB slot to set the time and date, they got a mini USB cable, so that's absolutely excellent, so good job there. Then there was a load of information released about the fact that this isn't even Yashica anymore, so the actual Japanese company who made these cameras no longer are making those cameras, and this is a company in Hong Kong making these cameras here. So the whole thing was basically just a money-making scheme, and people are not happy. And here is a postcard that was almost 100% certainly not taken on the Yashica Y35. So let's put the box to the side and have a look at the product, because I'm sure most of you are annoyed about how long I've been waffling on for. So here is the camera itself. Looks absolutely amazing. Everyone's excited until you look at it for longer than 5 seconds. Yashica Digifilm 16,000 ISO. Yashica Digifilm 6x6, In My Fancy, which is the most wannabe Japanese thing I've ever heard. Yashica Digifilm black and white, and the regular one that I shoot on my actual film camera is the 200 ISO. In comparison to the original Yashica camera, you can see that it's a lot smaller, but that isn't actually abnormal. They haven't done anything weird there by making it smaller, because if you look at the likes of the Olympus Trip, it's pretty much the same size, so there's nothing weird about that. You wouldn't look at that and say, wow, that's one small camera. That's pretty much like an average size for cameras back in the day, but it is essentially a mini Yashica GSN or Electro 35. This here, which is the ISO adjustment knob thing, that's completely fake. The wind is fake. It hasn't got a hot shoe, so it won't actually have a flash on there. I don't know how you'd even go about doing that. You'd maybe have to press the flash at the same time and hope that everything's going to work all right, or just use a torch. So that's fake. There's no rings on the lens. Everything is completely fixed. As it says, it's all automatic. The whole thing is plastic. I thought I should point that out because the rest of these cameras are all metal. So when you pick, this camera up that doesn't have any film in it or anything, you're like, bloody hell, that's heavy. There's no batteries in here. And then you pick this up and it's like, whoa, what is actually going on here? Honestly, it weighs like nothing. It's crazy. Half of this stuff isn't actually metal at all. In fact, I think the only thing that is metal is the shutter button, the cold shoe, the lever, and the two things for the strap, and also this little metal ring on the front here. So yeah, pretty brilliant. The actual lens itself looks like something you'd see at the top of a laptop or on a Nintendo DS. It's just a cheap looking camera. The door lever is pretty good. It doesn't actually spring open. So although it has a spring mechanism in it and you can actually see the spring inside in the good light, that doesn't actually work. So obviously something's too tight because it just gets stuck, and then you have to kind of force it open. So that's excellent. It doesn't have a rechargeable battery, of course. It's much cheaper for this company to ask us to source our own batteries. It doesn't come included with any batteries. And then we can pop the film in. So we're going to go through each film and take a photo on each different one as we go along through the video. When it kind of slots in, it doesn't slot in with any reassuring click, and everything still wobbles in there. It's basically just using like a pin system, so nothing's actually going to click in, it's just going to press in. The bottom tripod mount is plastic. This is where you put your SD card, so we'll go ahead and pop that in. It's also where you can set the time and date using the micro USB. And that's pretty much your lot. You've got a little like control knob here for brightness and darkness. It's kind of like a contrast thing. It's definitely not ISO. It's because that's like automatic. This button here is usually like a lock on a camera, for example. So you can, press the button and then not press the button. So this acts as the on button. So when you turn it on, it goes purple, and then when it's ready to fire, it goes red. You wind the shutter and press the shutter button, which is brilliant, fantastic. Everyone's happy. However, half the time when you wind it, it doesn't take the photo immediately, so they end up missing the photo, and then you have to hold the button to take the photo. So here are some photos from an actual film camera. We actually get some, really nice images out of it. Let me try and find one that I took a similar photo on. Here we go. So this is using 200 ISO Kodak Color Plus. This is like a sunset orange light kind of thing shining on a building. So we'll keep this one out. Now let's have a look at the Yashica Digifilm. So I went to the liberty of spending £3.47 to get these printed out. And when I got them, I was like, oh God. So from a distance, that probably looks quite good. But if I put the picture on screen and then have a look at the actual print, my camera is not out of focus. This is actually the quality of the Yashica Y35. So some of them, turned out looking better than others. I'll give it that. From a distance, it looks pretty good. Here's a picture of my friend Jordan. The lighting is awful. And then here's a picture of some bikes. The shutter speed took so long to actually take that the whole thing's completely blurry. It's useless. And a lot of the photos come out kind of distorted. And this looks like there's some sort of flash going on. I don't know what's going on here. That's obviously the digital rendering going wrong. This one's completely blurry. This one has like loads of reflections. I don't know what that is, like streaks going on or something. And the birds are all kind of blurry. And Jordan's completely in the dark there. You can hardly see him. And then here's the final one that I'd say is actually relatively good. And yeah. It doesn't look that bad, but it's not ideal. It's really grainy. Now I know that the Yashica Y35 does actually put digital grain on there so that it can look like an old film camera, but it's not great. it is actually quite close to some of the pictures that you get from an official film, a real film. So not too bad, I guess, but definitely, you know, you're getting nine good out of 9 good photos. One of them is good. So now I'm going to show you each of the films, and I'll put up on the screen which film I'm actually using. It's really clear to tell once you actually start taking photos and looking at them just how grainy everything is. I should point out that this is taken in my studio where I have 2 very bright lights which my current camera, my Canon 80D, has no problem taking video and photos in. So this just goes to show the kind of quality level of camera that we're dealing with. This final photo was taken on the ISO 200, which, as I mentioned earlier, is the one that I shoot my regular photos on. I've just zoomed in and cropped this photo so that you can see the artificial grain that they've put on the image. You can really see just how unpleasantly distorted everything looks and how grainy it looks, and it just really doesn't look very high quality at all. So my final thoughts then on the Yashica Y35 is that it had the potential to be absolutely brilliant, but take that out of the question and just looking at what we've got. Unfortunately, I find it hard to be really positive about this camera. You know, if we put aside the cheap plastic build, the price tag, and you know all the delays that this crowdfunding thing took to happen, you know, you're left with something that feels, you know, quite nice, and when it works flawlessly. You can just wind the shutter and press your photo, and it just, you know, when it does work, it feels great. But then you start looking at the images, and then you're just reminded from the low quality of the image that this is just a toy. Bearing in mind as well, I only took those photos just to show you different colours. I didn't go out and take loads of incredible photos. That was just a kind of a mock-up to show you different colours in good lighting, and that was what we got. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. That's convenient. Peace.